I met Lucas at Amora, a 5-star resort hotel on the beautiful Isla Maribel. We must have stood out because everyone else was coupled up. I stood on the top deck of a beautiful boat, ready for the excursion to the tiny, secluded islands surrounding Maribel. I recalled how the hotel description said it was the island's most exclusive adults-only resort, but somehow failed to mention its couples theme. I stared out at the calm turquoise sea and focused on the advantages. Delicious food and drink, white sands, and sunsets that melted into the sea. Plenty to enjoy by myself. I spun my head around too quickly and felt nauseous as I turned around. Great, as if romance being shoved down my throat wasn't sickening enough, now I felt like I really was going to be sick. I closed my eyes and rubbed the pressure point on my wrist, taking deep breaths. I heard a voice asking if I was all right. I opened my eyes and saw him. I'd seen him earlier as we boarded. I assumed he was part of a couple, and perhaps his partner hated boat rides and was waiting for him back at the resort. He sat down and introduced himself. Lucas Matthews. He gazed into my eyes as we shook hands, and I just knew something was going to happen between us, even if I wasn't there for a casual fling. My ex-fiancé Ryan broke off our engagement just 2 months before our wedding and moved out of the home we shared. This was supposed to be a healing holiday, and getting underneath another man wasn't part of my plan. Now, don't get me wrong. As handsome as he was, looks alone never impressed me. But there was something about Lucas. As he spoke, I was fully invested. I listened so intently that I was speechless when he asked me about myself. After a few prompts and gentle teasing to break the ice, he made me feel at ease. But I still lied to him about why I was there. I couldn't let him know that I was healing my broken heart. I told him that I was celebrating closing a major business deal and looking to relax after a few tense weeks of hard work. He looked so impressed. That wasn't a complete lie. I had been promoted for my hard work, but the business deal was on behalf of the company I work for, not mine, and it was several weeks ago, before Ryan ended our relationship. The boat staff announced that a buffet lunch was ready on the bottom deck. Lucas stood up and held out his hand. I took it, smiling. Even though I could only manage a small portion, the food was great, and so was the company. As I warmed up to him, I talked more about my hobbies and interests. I worked out, loved to read, and was part of a regular sip and paint class. I wouldn't say I lied, maybe exaggerated the truth a little. I had attended a sip and paint class once, and I considered my work commute to and from the train station a 5-day-a-week workout. As for reading, let's just say, after trawling through work emails every day, I hadn't fancied it much lately. I caught his gaze as I spoke. I could tell he was attracted to me. Honestly, it felt good to be wanted, and in such a beautiful location. I didn't want the excursion to end. Then I remembered that this wouldn't be the last time I'd see him. As we left the boat, we were holding hands again. He turned to me and asked if I wanted to meet up for dinner. I figured why not? If nothing else, he'd make a good story to tell my friends back home. I agreed to meet him an hour later, after I had the chance to freshen up. I gave him my hotel room number, and as I walked to my room and scanned my keycard, I couldn't tell whether the giddy feeling I had was because of him or leftover seasickness. I decided that it couldn't be the latter, because I would be puking, not smiling. At exactly 7 o'clock, he knocked on my door quietly, 3 times. I felt butterflies in my stomach as I straightened my sexy, figure-hugging dress, reminding myself that I'd have to avoid bloating foods that night. As I walked over to open the door, my pre-holiday bikini wax suddenly awakened a desire within me that I had tried to suppress. He looked good. He smiled that smile, and that desire screamed so loud. I pretended to clear my throat, to conceal my gasp. I stepped out, and I took his hand as we walked to dinner. I made something up about not being too hungry due to my earlier seasickness, but truthfully, I could have eaten a full plate of food. And his plate. Still thinking about this dress I'd squeezed myself into, I considered comfort and decided to eat fewer carbs than I usually would. Prodding the fork around my chicken salad, I wondered if he thought about how our night would end. The way he looked at me, I think he knew. We both did. He walked me back to my room, and I invited him in. The door closed, and I turned around and caught his gaze. I stepped closer, and he pulled me in by the waist and kissed me, exactly as I'd imagined earlier that evening in the shower, while I was getting ready. He stayed until morning, and we showered together before he left, telling me he couldn't wait to see me later. I closed the door and leaned against it, smiling. The next 4 days were a whirlwind. By the end of my holiday, I had completely forgotten about Ryan. Lucas and I lived in neighbouring cities back home, so staying in touch would be easy enough. We never discussed seeing each other back home. I figured we were having too much fun to bother with details. I had his number from when he'd sent me a good morning message, and admittedly, I might have done a little digging around social media and found out where he worked and his hometown.